Okay, so last class, we talked a lot about the why things work and the what habits to have and how to actually put things on the page so they line up in good ways and when you should use a shortcut and when you shouldn't use a shortcut and all of those sort of big issues around the problem. And because we did so much of that, we didn't do a whole lot of actual example problems compared to if we were just plowing straight through them. So today we're going to go back and do lots of example problems, as many as people need. We talked about one-step equations like y plus 5 equals 20. How do you get y by itself? We talked about a certain kind of two-step equations, the ones that start with either minus y or divided by y in the equation, and you have to fix them. Then we talked about multiply in an x-shaped game, cross multiplying with or without variables, and that's where we stopped. We didn't get to the word problems. So we're going to go back and do all of that as much as people need so that you can feel comfortable doing the homework. Before we dive into that, someone had a question about one of the homework problems. So that's where we will actually start. Everyone okay with the plan for today? Okay. So a football field, including the end zones, is 360 feet long and 160 feet wide. So just out of habit, as a geometry problem appears to me, I'm going to draw this. If I run 3 laps around a football field, what percentage of a mile do I run? So there's like a part A and a part B kind of thing hiding in here. So what am I going to do first?
Count up all 4 sides.
Yeah, so part A is 1 lap. The fancy word for that is perimeter, if you are caring about fancy words. So I have 360, another 360, a 160, another 160, and what's my total? Yeah, that was 1,040. Then part B.
That times 3.
Yeah, it's 3 laps. So 3,120 feet. And then I have part C. Which is a percent of a mile. So 3,120 feet is what percent of a mile? What do I know about feet and miles? Just because I'm supposed to have memorized this.
5,200 feet in a mile.
Yeah, so I know that 1 mile is 5,280 feet. So I have 3,120 feet out of 5,280 feet. Everyone okay with why I'm writing it as a fraction, part over whole? So part yes, and as Mickey hinted, I want to divide. Why am I dividing top divided by bottom? And it is the next thing to do. Why do I know that's the next thing to do? I know how many feet are in a mile. Yeah, I'm going way back to the shape shifting. How do I change a fraction into a percent? I divide top divided by bottom. So I get about
Oh, good.
0.59. Then I get a decimal. That's not what I want. But then I go right into percent, and that is what I want.
Yeah. No need to round up.
Do I need to round up? Did I do this wrong? Is it 60?
Yeah.
Oops.
That's about that percentage, but that's okay.
Yeah, you're right. So this should be, well, no, it's 591. So that's not going to round up if there's a 1 there. Yeah, so 59 is good. I might have been tricky in the multiple choice ones and had 60 instead of 59, but there we go. If I'm running laps, I'm not amazingly accurate either, right? I'm not stepping exactly on the lines every time.
Your answer is only going to permit us to go to 60%. Is it okay if we utilize that one instead?
Yeah.
Okay, so we got that right?
What?
So I got that right?
I don't think 59 and 60 are both answers, are they?
No, just 60.
Yeah, just 60.
Yeah.
They're wondering what's actually on the clicky form. So what does it actually want? So yeah, 60 would be the right one.
Oh.
Okay, questions on either part A or part B or part C? Okay, then we'll get rid of that and keep going. So for one-step equations, it were things like 5 times y is 35 or 4 times b is 20. And we talked about why that made sense, although no one actually thinks of a balance scale as they do every problem. It was good to know why it made sense. If you weren't here on Monday, then go back and watch the video and things like that. Then we did some with division. We talked about writing it vertically step by step, not horizontally. One thing I forgot to say is it helps you with studying. If you're cramming for the final at the end of week 10 and you're not sure if you're doing this right, if you write it this way, you can take your notes or your old homework and slide the paper down and make sure that you know what's going to happen in the next step. So it's good for that reason also, as well as all the good things I said last time. Okay, and I think that was the last of the example problems. So we have all of these to do. Yes?
Yeah, can you do one where you have put the like the U or the X, and you have to put it on the other side?
Yes, we will get to those. Let's start with the easier ones though. So if I have something and I add 9 and I get to 200, I could just think about it and say, what's 9 less than 200? But in case my brain is freezing, because brains do that when we're taking a test, what's the opposite of plus 9 to get the u by itself? Minus 9. So if I do it to one side of the equal sign, I have to do it to the other. And all those nice things we talked about last time of you want your equal signs to line up, you want your letters to line up, keep things nice and organized on the page. That way, if you're going into Math 60, everything will be friendly and you won't get things wrong just because your numbers are sort of running away through the woods on the paper. Okay, ready for another one? It doesn't matter which side of the equal sign the letter is on. So, what's my question I'm asking myself this time?
Isn't this
It is. Yeah. So
50 minus 5.
yeah, well, there's a +5. The opposite is a -5. If I add and subtract 5, nothing happens overall. I'm back to V, and here I'm at 45. Ta-da. Something I'm not sure I mentioned is that my habit is to put a box around the 45, not to put a box around the whole thing. And the reason I do that isn't that it matters for this problem, but in general, I'm going to be solving word problems, right? It never happens in real life that someone gives me something that looks like this. So there's some paragraph, and I have changed it into an equation to do my work. So the fact that this is an X or a Y or a Z or a V or whatever letter, that's just because I've picked it. That's like my personal decision as I'm solving this. So whatever boss assigned me this doesn't care about my letter. They just care about the answer. Okay, should we skip that one? That one's just saying if the letter changes, it doesn't change anything. Oops. Not me. There we go. Okay. What's my thing to do now? Yeah, I have a -9. The opposite of -9 is +9. Everyone happy with that? Our bravely conscripted volunteer is too busy taking notes to walk around with snacks. So someone who's not busy writing, grab the plate and walk around and feed people. Oh. Okay, and once more, it doesn't matter what side of the equal sign things are happening on. What am I going to do now? Okay. Am I adding 45? Am I adding 15? 15. The thing that's stuck onto y is a -15, so to get it off, I have to do a +15. Okay, everyone happy with these easy ones? Okay, not everyone will always be, so it's good to do a few and check. Okay, then we had the ones where
Anyone who wants one, just raise their hands.
Are you seriously doing it? Oh
Are
my God, we thought you were joking.
no.
Oh, that done made my day.
Okay.
Oh my God.
Okay, I've done enough of these. Who wants to come up and do one on the board? There's more paper towels. No one wants to do one on the board?
Wait, is there a thing where you get a check mark for doing like four?
There's one for, yes, you can get another check mark for having done 4 on the board if you've done one already.
I don't know if I got a check mark.
Yeah, there's my calculator. Oh, okay.
Well, you gotta divide. Oops. Oh, never mind. What's the erase thing? Erase. Why is it not working? There we go. And now that thing. Divide by 0.4. Divide by 0.4. Okay. Yeah, you know what? It's a computer.
It is hard to do. Don't talk till you've been up there. Takes a lot of practice. Okay, he does need to do something more carefully though, because it's not a 0.4 that's stuck to the U.
It's the 20. Let's go backwards. You don't divide it by 0.04, you divide it by 20.
Your
50
0.4 is their answer.
50 times 20, that's 100. So divide both by 20.
Y'all just confuse the crap out of me right now. Hold on.
Oh, that's not a victim yet.
It's U times 20 equals 0.4. So if you take the answer, which is the one they give you, and you divide it by the number they give you, because it's a multiplication question, so you have to do the opposite.
Yes, right.
Yeah, but the thing stuck onto the U is the times 20.
Okay.
So to get the U by itself, you have to do the opposite of times 20.
Yeah, I am dividing.
Not 0.4.
So you have to divide by 20?
20, yes.
So that makes no sense. Because 20 divided by 20 is not 0.4.
You don't divide by the answer.
It's not supposed to be 0.4. So do it the way we're telling you and then I'll talk about it.
Okay, so you want to, I got to erase everything now. Hold on. So you want to divide by 20. Okay, hold on. Weird. Okay. Well, that would be 0. Okay, 1. You got 1. You got 1 there. I'm going to erase this.
Wait. Invitations is the virtue.
Okay, so you got 1. Do you want me to divide 20 by 0?
You want to do the other side and divide it by 20, because to be fair, if you do it to one side, you have to do it to the other.
Completely different way from any way I've ever learned it before. I've always learned you just divide the answer by the
But if you
number.
do it backwards and like check the problem, 50 times 12, that's obviously like somewhere the calculation is wrong. Because 100 is not 0.4.
Did you just say don't hurt yourself?
Be nice to our brave volunteer.
No, damn it. That's the answer. I write better on the whiteboard than I do here. Gives you 0.02.
Okay, so what you missed, that I'll write on.
I don't know how you're
is
getting 0.04.
that it's not a times 20 divided 20 is 1. I mean, that is there, but there's also a U. So what we're winding up with is a U times 1. If I take U and I multiply it by 20 and then I divide it by 20, these things turn into a times 1, but the U is still there. And U times 1 is just U. So normally we don't write this part here because the whole reason we picked this thing is to make it turn into something we don't have to write, a times 1. Similarly, when we had addition, the whole reason we picked this one was because a minus 15 plus 15 is the same as a plus 0, and we don't have to write that. So we're trying to get the letter by itself. One thing that I saw was causing a potential problem that you look a little less like a Y was you were calling this part the answer. But that's,
you want to find what U equals.
you want to find what U equals. So if anything in the first line is the answer, it's actually U. It just doesn't really look like an answer. Does that make sense? What I'm thinking is there must be something that works there. And rather than guess and check, 20 times 20? No. 1/20th times 20? No, right? Guess and check would take forever. Then I will just do the same thing to both sides to get this by itself. And I'll know what it is. Okay, yeah.
I'm still confused on how
the problem is saying essentially whatever number u is times 20 equals 0.4. But we just did all that work. We got u by itself, and you had me divide the 20 on the opposite end. Unless I did that backwards on the dividing for that part, it's 0.02.
Right. So if I plug it in, is it true that 0.02 times 20 is 0.4? Yes, that works. We found the answer. Okay. No. That one I do first because it all came, there's frozen spinach in them. So years ago, I was talking with someone else about kids and things and hiding vegetables in your kids' food. And I mentioned that I had chocolate waffles that had frozen spinach in them. And they were like, no, you can't hide frozen spinach in chocolate waffles. So then the next class I had to bring it in and defend my honor. Yeah. Okay. So I'm not going to feed you junk food. Okay. Okay, Mickey, come. Yes. I know, you're right. Anti-pop. Okay, so he's done one off. Boom!
Is that right?
I know you're so fast. I wasn't even looking up from writing down to it. The opposite of divided by is times. Divided by 20 is times 20. So we could put a times 1 here if we wanted, but that would just be a waste of ink. And 0.4 times 20 is 8. So yay. Okay, now it's my turn because we have, whoops, let's get the number with it. We have one that's broken. So for this problem, 20 isn't the right thing to multiply or divide by, and 0.4 isn't the right thing to multiply or divide by. It's not true that I have, did I get a blank page in there? Okay. It's not true that I have a divided by 20 and the opposite is times 20. It's not true that I have a times 20 and the opposite is divided by 20. Instead, I have a divided by W. So what's the opposite?
Multiply,
Multiply by what?
but now you have to multiply by the 0.4.
No, now I have to multiply by W, because the opposite of divided by W is going to be times W. So if I have a 20 and then divided by W times W, that's just 20 times 1. Remember the times 1s we're not writing? So that's 20, and if you want to write a times 1, you can. And here we have 0.4 times W. And that doesn't look like progress, but it is, because this line is something I know how to do. Now I have something stuck onto W with times 0.4. So how do I get W by myself? Or by itself? Yeah, divided by 0.4. So now my W is by itself, because the times 0.4 divided by 0.4 turns into a times 1. And we have 20 divided by 0.4 is 500. Does it work? If I have 20 divided by 500, is that 0.4? Yes, it checks out. Always check your answer. Okay, so this one is tricky. It's the 2-step one. Let's look at what happened. I like it when it's a 1-step problem and the letter has something happening to it. So I can undo what's happening to it. But division I can't flip the order around, like adding or multiplying. So it's inescapable that the letter is now what's happening to the 20, not the other way around. We're dividing by W from the 20. So I can't do a times 20 or a times 24. Those aren't the things that are being done. What's being done is the divided by W. So I have to do, what? 20 divided by 0.4.
I got 50.
Is it 50? Did I type it wrong? Yes, I did. I did. Thank you. Okay. So I have to do a times W to undo the divided by W. And now I have some flexibility because multiplication I can think of in either direction. It's more flexible than division. So I could see this as times W happening to 0.4. Historically, that's what it is. But I can also think of it as times 0.4 happening to W. So that extra flexibility now allows me to get W by itself, which I couldn't do before. Okay, stare at that, meditate a little, questions on.
Can we do another one?
Yes. Well, let's do all of these. I'm not going to tell you in advance if these are one-step or two-step ones. Okay, who wants to be a brave volunteer that hasn't come up yet today?
I can do it.
Sure.
That promise is amazing.
So are we just going to be dividing this here? All right. And divide that by 4. Was that like, did you get 0.1, not 0.03125?
Yeah.
Oh,
No, it
That's-
says it has to be a fraction.
Yep, here we go.
so do I gotta multiply that now? Oh, times 1/4. Are we going in the right way here, folks?
That's a way to do it.
Okay, okay. And I've got, that's 32, 132. So would that be 132 times 4,
I broke it down into a decimal.
which is 0.03125?
You're doing too much.
Is it just 130?
How do I erase that?
Over 32.
Oh,
With the eraser?
Eraser. Up there, looks like.
Looks like an ice cream bar.
Oh, I gotcha. Do I go back to writing now? There we go.
Just 1/8 divided by 4.
1/8 divided by 4.
You're more than done. Can I rewrite it so you can see that you're done?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Thank you.
So this again goes to last class, all the good things I said about how to write things. So what I would have done is said oops, no, let's keep this part. Okay, so there we go. Okay, so we had x times 4 is 1/8, and you were right. This times 4 is stuck on 8, stuck on x, so we have to do it divided by 4. Then you did what I warned people not to do and tried to squeeze lots of stuff in right here, which makes you run into trouble. So instead, go off to the side, make some little cloud or something, and say that divided by for, let's see, can I move just that little bit? Yeah, no, I can't move that. So, see if I can make this all her handwriting. Okay, here and there, and I can put. Don't drink it. Okay.
Oh,
Okay. Okay, so something like that. So she wanted to do 1/8 divided by 4. And rather than squeeze it in here, say, well, what is 1/8 divided by 4 over 1? It's 1/8 times 1 over 4. And that's 132. And then you were done.
That was it.
That was it. You just kept going because how you put it on the page confused me. So,
He was confused.
yeah. Yeah, don't watch me as I do my, but there we go. Okay, now that it's all done messing around, does it look nice? Okay. So don't try and squeeze too much here. If this is sort of your big picture of what's happening, what am I doing to both sides? And if it gets messy, do that somewhere else on the page. Okay, ready to go on? Okay. Okay, similar thing. There's an important difference. I'll move it over here. Just okay. Who next? More brave volunteers.
do I get another star? Like another?
I gotta do 4 on the board.
Yeah, I want to let everyone who hasn't done one today go first before I let people repeat. Anyone
Yeah, I
else?
have 2. There's one from getting it through one, and then this one.
You wanna go again? Is that what I heard?
No, I already went. I got more time on the board than you do.
No one else want? Okay, then I'll let. Oh no, okay, come on.
Let's see. How do I work this thing?
Don't touch the little thing. Oh, I see what's happening. Click on the.
Click on the one thingy.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, we're gonna times this by 4. Oop. Dude, chill.
We're gonna make that a fraction.
Yes, sir.
You don't have to.
Yeah, you did.
I didn't.
What?
This thing's hard
Want me
to.
teach you?
All right. And then times 4. Oh wait, do I do the reciprocal? So put 1 over 4. Okay, that's a 1.
He's trying to
What? All right, and
1
then
times 4 is 4. 8 times 1 is 8. And
8?
you reduce it to 1 half.
1 half?
1 half.
Thanks.
Y is 1 half.
I applaud you for doing it without a
Yeah.
I
So
think he's trusting David too much because I cancel the 4 and the 8.
to
and I get
2.
2 and a 2.
Okay,
So I
so
don't think it's a half.
I just got 2.
It's a 4. It's not a half.
I don't even know. I think
Two is 4.
where's the eraser?
Yeah.
So erase this.
Just the denominator.
So just 1.
No, it's not.
Right?
Just say.
So
I put it in the calculator.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Oh.
Oh, I see. Because no, you were right. You were right.
Yeah.
It's your handwriting that messed me up. So here, let me go back.
thanks.
Actually, I knew it was a 1.
Yeah, I'm reading this 2 as a 1 because it looks like a 1. There.
Wow.
So what happened?
Okay,
Oh,
it is 1/2. all
No
squared.
space.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Okay, there we go.
All right. The hardest problem on earth.
Okay, last one in this set. I'm sorry I messed up your nice problem, KJ. You were.
You shouldn't deserve double.
Okay, and I'm gonna mark down that sort is done for. Okay, maybe that corner.
This one.
The opposite of divided by z is times 4.
Oh, that's right. That means you have to times this by z. So be 1. Kind of confused by this. I'm confused by this.
Okay, then I'll do it. That's fine.
can I do it?
You can, try- sure, if you want to try.
I'll try.
This is
How
by
does
far
this
the
even
hardest
work?
one. You have to do the two-step thing and fractions. Still mark that KJ done.
Can I erase?
Yeah.
Oh,
It's a-
okay.
Not divided by z.
Did I get that right? No?
Okay, first.
I
off,
give
let's do
up.
the z on this side.
Oh, stay up there. You can't give up. Yelling at me for doing things wrong. And you're like, I give up. Stay up there.
Okay, so we have a
You're
z
right.
by itself on this side, right?
Right.
Z times 1/8 divided by 1/8. So this is just the z on this side. So keep this as just z.
Uh-huh. What?
You confused yourself. You confused yourself.
did.
So erase the either 1/2 or 1/z, whatever that is.
That's a 2. That's, yeah.
Okay, put a z there instead. It's the right side and then
Wait.
just z.
Now I'm confused. Put a Z.
Put a z on the right side. It's only a z. No fraction. There we go. So that's the right side. Everyone okay with that? Z.
Oh,
times
okay.
1/8 divided by 1/8 is just. On this side, we have 4 divided by 1/8. So if I had 4 tickets and I make piles of size 1/8, how many tiny shred piles do I have? Back to the very first table.
Can somebody do 4 divided by 1/2? 32?
Use a calculator.
I can't. I don't know this one.
You can make In the calculator up there, you can do the fractions of it. So what, 4?
Mhm.
4 divided by, right?
Mhm.
And then,
1/8.
yeah, so
I don't know where
1,
his fraction
oh, whoops.
is. You can't find it either, huh?
I want to say it's this.
No, it's. I thought it was like that, but it's not.
No.
Sonia,
Dividing.
I don't.
Yeah, yours is better, right? How do you make it a fraction? Where?
Turn it into a multiplication.
Okay,
Times 4 times 8.
okay, hold on, no, I got it.
I don't even know how to use my.
Why did put 18 on top? I don't want 18 on top.
I think that's right. Nope.
Nope, that's an error. Hold on, I did something wrong, hold on. Okay, fraction,
Where's
1.
my calculator?
Go to the bottom, damn it.
This is the blind leading the blind right at this.
I don't know, I'm trying to get the thing, how do you
Let
put
me
that
show
thing
you
in
the
there?
other way. I don't know your calculator.
How do you put the 8 on the bottom?
So what you could do is off on the side,
There you go.
4 divided
Oh,
by
okay, I
1/8.
get it.
32.
32.
It is 32.
Now, this Black Panther has died. Oh my goodness.
Oh, okay. Doo-doo-doo. Whoops. So if you have a calculator key with an AB over C, then you can do this. You could also do it with parentheses, or you could just do the fraction math. So either way. If you want to do this on the calculator, you could always type 4 divided by parentheses, 1 divided by 8, close parentheses, equals. And anytime I have a fraction, I can just make it a division problem in parentheses. And no matter what fancy calculator buttons I have or don't have, that'll work. If you wanted to do this on my calculator, then okay. Wake up thing. Yes, good morning. Have your coffee. There we go. Okay. Oops. And these are backwards. Okay. So I could do 4, no, not 0.4, 4 divided by, and I have this AB over C key. So see it says AB over C? Maybe you can't see that. Yeah. So I use that for a fraction bar. So when it's supposed to be 4 divided by 1/8, I go 1 fraction bar 8, and then it tells me that. This calculator has the same thing. 4 divided by 1 AB over C, 8, and it tells me 32. Let me do that with it on the screen. 4 divided by 1 fraction bar 8. So the AB over C is where your fraction bar is.
I like his better. His actually is a fraction thing.
Yes.
Show them yours. Let him show yours.
So yours. So how does that work? 4 divided by, then I say start a fraction.
Yep.
1, then I hit move down to the bottom.
No, you gotta use the arrows.
Ah,
That's
I
why
gotta
you
use
got me
the
confused
arrows.
when you
Okay.
came over.
So 4 divided by a fraction, 1 on top. Where's Use this thing, go down, put an 8 there, and then hit equals. Okay. Oh, whoops. Let me do it where you can see. 4 divided by, make a fraction, 1 and 8. There we go. So different ways it works.
How much that cost, bro? Really? They got what? Yo, they got better. Goddamn better calculators.
Okay, it's a Casio. I'm sure it's everywhere.
It's really solid.
Okay, enough about calculators. You can always do it the blue way if you need to. Okay, and now people say, well, why do we have to learn all this? We could just use our calculator when we've just spent 10 minutes trying to get the calculator to work. We could have done it the other way. Okay, other example problems. I'm gonna skip the easy ones. You like the easy ones? Okay, let's do an easy one. You can do an easy one.
But I mean, if you're gonna give the hard ones on the test, then
Oh, I'll do all of them.
it's the easy ones.
Okay, what's the opposite of what in this case? Subtract of how much? 0.8. That's the one attached to my letter. That will get my letter by itself. How much is 1.4 minus 0.8? 0.6.
0.6.
Everyone happy with that? Okay, what's my second step here? I guess first step, right? Doesn't count. I'm gonna add. Opposite of subtracting is adding. And again, the thing attached is the 0.8, so that's the thing I have to get rid of. My mental math is not making stupid mistakes. We're all okay. Okay. Then the tricky one. So I am taking away something, so I have to add something. What I'm taking away is a W. So what I have to add is a W. Then I can look at this the other direction and say, oh yes, I'm adding a W, but I'm also adding a 1.4 because it can happen in either direction. So I can think of it as now the add in 1.4 and take away a 1.4 as the opposite. Let's pull that down a tiny bit. Questions about that one? That one is tricky. Notice in the middle, I don't have to try and smush this together somehow, because I'm going to be peeling the 1.4 off right away. Just like in the other one we did, I forgot to do this complement, then when it was 1/8 times z, then you could have written it as z over 8 or something fancy like that, but that wouldn't have helped, because right away we're just going to take the 1/8 and peel it away again. So it is no virtue to combine this step into something simpler. Okay, questions on that one? review our fraction math. Okay, I'm going to do these just so they're written nicely on the board, because again, handwriting is not easy on this silly. So I have a 1/2 minus a 1/8. I'm not going to try and squeeze it all in right here. That leads to the dark side. Okay, instead, I'm going to do it off to the edge. How do I do a 1/2 minus 1/8 without fighting with my calculator? Common denominators, which is going to be 8. So I need a times 4 to make it 8. If I do it on the bottom, to be fair, I do it on the top. So I get 4/8 minus 1/8, which is 3/8. So all of that.
Are there gonna be any questions like this on the hand calculator?
I don't know. Let's go check. You will have to be able to add fractions. I don't see anything with letters here. So sort of, but not exactly. Okay, but back to this one. Anyone have questions on that? If you're fancy with calculators, you don't have to do the blue writing. But as we saw before, in a race, sometimes the blue writing wins over the calculator. So y minus 1/8 equals 1/2. The opposite of minus 1/8 is plus 1/8. That will get y by itself. Again, I don't want to try and write a bunch of stuff right here. So I'll go off to the edge and say I want 1/2 and 1/8. I'm leaving space here. Why am I leaving space before the plus? Because I'm about to stick stuff there. Right? So same as before, common denominators, I need an 8 times 4 will do it. If I do it on the bottom, to be fair, I have to do it on the top. Actually, I'll make that black. Yeah, not 1/5. Okay, everyone happy? And then the hard one in the set. One-third. Yep, that's supposed to be a z. Minus z is 1/9. Why do I write my z's in the European style with a line through the middle? Because sometime or another I had it be a 2. And as KJ knows, I think things are 2 when they're not. And so it caused me to make an error. So there we go. Okay. Yes. I have to add z. I would love to add something other than z, because playing with variables is my least favorite. But here, I have to add a z, because minus z is only minus z. So that gets a 1/3 by itself. And on this, I have 1/9 plus z. Now, yeah, do I come over here and do 1/9 plus z over 1 and try and make things happy? No, don't do that. I'm about to peel the 1/9 off. So combining them would only make work that I have to undo. So yes, as Dan was saying, now I can go in both directions. This is z added to 1/9, but it's also 1/9 added to z. So I can take 1/9 away. And that will give me a z by itself. Am I going to squish something in here with fraction math? No, that will make me have problems. So I'll go over here, 1/3 minus 1/9. I need a common denominator.
Right.
9, so a times 3 will suffice. If I do it on the bottom, I do it on the top to be fair. And as before, if you have a fancy calculator, you can do this without the blue writing. But it's nice to know how the blue writing works, because the calculators aren't always friendly. Okay, everyone happy with that one? So that's as hard as they get. If you are good at these, when you arrive at Math 60, you will be better prepared than the average person arriving at Math 60. So everyone will think you are great at math. We also talked about cross multiplying. The reason we actually care about all the stuff we've been doing for an hour is that we want to do word problems with proportions. And we know we want to do this because last Friday, when you were inventing problems for each other, several times people started making proportion problems because it's just so unavoidable. If I can drive 35 miles in 4 hours, then how many miles do I drive in 10 hours or something like that? These kinds of problems happen all the time in real life. And so we want to solve those. That's why we started way at the top with the ones that have multiplying, because that's the things that will happen with the proportions. That's the ones we really care about. The other ones are just sort of 60 prep. So we had what a proportion was, a formula of rate equals rate, ratio equals ratio, fraction equals fraction. And we talked about this multiply in an X-shaped game and why it works. That really we're finding common denominators with the brute force method, but we're not writing that because who cares? So if you missed all of that, then go back and look at the other video. And we did some, but not all of these. So do we do that one? I don't know. Let's do that one. The kind of absurdly impractical task would be to check if one rate or proportion or fraction is equal to the other. You'll never have to do this in real life, but we could if we wanted. You do your oops, that's a terrible swoosh. Is it true that 9 times 5.4 might be equal to 7 times 7.2? Well, 9 times 5.4 is 48.6. And is that the same as 7 times 7.2? No, that's 50.4. And for almost everyone, this was review. You've done this already. So we spent most of the time talking about this, about how to write things and which steps you should write or not write, and when to do a shortcut if there's a letter and things like that. One thing I want to point out just as a kind of heads up is at LCC, we have agreed that this one step, the multiply in an X-shaped thing, is the cross multiplying. That's not how all of the world uses the phrase. If you look in some books or some websites, they will say that the whole thing, getting to the answer, is cross multiplying. But if you define it that way, then you can't talk only about the step, when this is the step you need to focus on. So by calling cross multiplying only that one step, then we can say, let's look at the cross multiplying step and then talk about other stuff separately. So that's a Math 60 comment if you're going into 60. Okay. The only way those get at all weird is if we have fractions in our fraction. I encourage you to write them with exaggerated middle fraction bars. Otherwise, it just looks like a totem pole of numbers piled on each other. It's hard to deal with. The process is exactly the same. On this diagonal, I have a 3 times a half. And maybe that's equal to a 1/3 times 2. But guess what happens? When I put these together, 3 over 1, 2 over 1, I get is 3 halves equal to 2/3. And if you couldn't tell right away, maybe there was weird decimals or things and it was making it hard to see yes or no right away, then you could cross multiply again. Whoops. And keep going. Is it true that 4 is 9? And the answer is no. So when you start with fractions in your fractions, then you might have to play the cross multiplying game twice. So not any harder, just longer.
No, I just did it like exactly on the top, and I got 1.
You got 1.
I got 1.
For,
It show you
for which part?
for the very top, like how you had it as 1/3 times 3, and then
Yes, each of these 1/3 divided by 3, well, that should be 1/9, not 1. We'll worry about the calculator buttons another.
what I ended up doing instead was, because I can't put like an actual equal sign, I had it as like 1/2 over 2, and 1/3 over 3 as multiplied because it's what it seems to be.
I'm not going to go there now because calculators aren't good at checking things. They're just good at things with equals at the end. So I'm not going to try and figure out what you're doing. Okay, we have 4 minutes. The next kind of one was where we had letters in it. And here, this is an equal sign. We're not saying, is it equal? We are going to force it to be equal. Some y will work. And this isn't the kind of thing we've been doing all class that's nice and friendly. So we use the cross multiplying game to translate it. And as we talked about on Monday, it doesn't matter which diagonal I pick first. So I will always pick the diagonal with the letter in it. It doesn't matter whether I write the y or the 9 first. So I'll always write my letter on the very far left. I'm going to write the step of 144 times 4, but you don't actually need to. I encourage you to if you're going on to Math 60, though. Whoops. So once I put my 2 pink numbers together, this looks exactly like we've been spending all our class time. This is the one case, y times something is something else, that we really care about for word problems. Divide by 9, divide by 9, and we get 64. Now, this is great news. Remember, the tricky ones happened when it was a divided by y or a minus y. They're never tricky like that. All of this is always y times something is something else. So these are always the nice and easy ones. We're only doing the 2-step ones so that when you get to 60, you're not confused. There was also the shortcut where If you are done with math this term, if you're not going on to 60, then you could say, I'm going to take the ones that have a diagonal and multiply them, and take the one that's opposite the y and divide it. And the shortcut works great. But don't do that if you're going on to 60. We talked about y and blah, 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 blah. And that's all for today. So do some homework before Friday. Bring me questions. You've now seen lots of example problems, and then we'll finally get on to word problems. Thank you again to our chef. Yay for our chef. Can you get some stars? Yes.
I'm trying to remember, textbook homework, I think is one that I can show you. So, this textbook homework.
Okay, rewritten things, sure. So Deanna certainly has all of the rewritten, whatever you did.
Okay, so that was the notes.
That's not the notes, that's the written out problems.
So then the notes are a different
The
thing.
notes are, notes are can you take sources and put them together,
Okay.
not how nicely you write.
Can I do like for the notes, is it like entire files and that's how to do them? Okay.
So that could work.
And then, I don't know if that's everything. I sent you, the measurements homework, the math science one, but I was also, oh, I had a question. Sure. If I can find it now. I was having trouble trying to figure out how to get the diameter and radius with only having the circumference. So I was looking at my notes and I was trying to sort it out. I couldn't. So
Let's do that.
yeah, I was the only.
So there's a homework problem like that. Let's find it.
I know that's what you're saying, because they're having this. No, it was not. And what the things you want to watch out for?
No, not that one. Where is it? Oh, I know where it is. It's not in this homework, it's in the practice tests.
I said it's in the. I don't know, it says textbook more. And it's under exponents and square roots.
Maybe it's just the square, we go backwards. Okay, well, let's just do yours.
Okay. Oh, it's under circles and circumference.
Okay, so yours is, if the circumference is 12,901 miles, that is enormous. So circumference is 24,000 miles. And we're wondering, what is the radius? Okay, so we have two circle formulas. We have area is pi times r, and we have circumference is pi times diameter. Which of those helps?
The diameter.
Yeah, so what we have is the circumference. So the one that involves circumference is useful. This one is a red herring, we don't care about it. But that's one thing I would think about. If I only know two things. Okay, so plug things in. 24,901 equals pi times diameter. Now this is exactly what we've been doing. Because this number, I have times pi here. So to get the d by itself, I'm going to divide by pi. So I'll take my calculator. And on mine, it's your pipe. Now, we're not done. Now, I'm gonna round this. Because it asked for the radius, not the diameter. So the diameter is all the way across. We just want half of that. So then, a new color. This is miles. Makes sense why we divide by 2 at the end.
We're trying to get half of that.
Right. So radius.
I wouldn't really have to worry about this, but, say that somebody doesn't have like the pi key on their calculator, would you just have them use 3.14?
Just use 3.14. Yeah. So it's a good habit to use the pi key because then you're not rounding in the middle. But it's only a good habit. It's not.
I'd rather use pi key. Wrong.
Okay. I don't know if that was like in the wrong section then because I don't remember if that was if we did that earlier in the last section. Or I just couldn't remember. I don't know. That's what
It might be
we're-
one that I should put in the formulas and not in the circle area.
Maybe, yeah.
So 9.
Because I was like trying to
Point
figure it out.
3, number 13, move from geometry to 1 step. If I put that as something to do before we had done 1-step equations, then you guys would say you're stuck.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, someone who's not here today wanted me to do a simple interest problem. So while I'm still recording, I'm going to do one of those. Oops.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Another question?
Yeah. Well, has it been time that they've had postings and I didn't do a whole lot in your class?
Principal times rate times time. So the simple interest formula, interest is principal times rate times time. If you wanted to know where that was, then we go on our website to the topics and we look at simplifying expression, and there it is, simple interest, and it tells you there's the formula. Now, we have to remember the rate is an annual interest rate and the time is in years. So even though it's traditionally written in this other way, then the interest rate and the time have to both be about years, and that's where things can get tricky. So let's do a trickiest one possible from the sample notes. The way to not get tricked is to list out all of your variables. Interest, principal, rate, and time. Let's look a little better. So now I read the problem. A $400 loan, that's the principal, has a 5% annual simple interest rate. So 5%. I do RIPLOP, that's 0.05. Writing too small, it doesn't like my handwriting. Okay. And it lasts 200 days. How much will the borrower need to repay? Okay, the interest is what I'm solving for. And then I think I might be done, but I'm not. Because I have to double check if these are in years. This one is in year. It was an annual interest rate. Yay. This one is not in years. It is in days. So how do I take 200 days and change it into years? I have to go divided by 365. And whatever that actually is, 200 divided by 365. So it's about 0.54795 of a year. Now, these are both in years, and I'm happy. If I rounded this decimal to just 0.5 or 0.55, it would change my answer by a few cents. So, not the end of the world, but as a good habit, keep lots of digits there. That was the tricky part. What happened in orange and pink. Plugging things in is easy. So interest is 400 times 0.05 times 0.054795. And my calculator does all the work. 400 times 0.05. Oops, typo. Here we go. There we go, that makes more sense. $10.96. The last thing to check is what did the word problem ask? Did it ask the amount of interest before I put a box around that? And in this case, no. It asked how much will the borrower need to repay? The borrower will need to repay the interest, but also the principal. It would be nice if they get to keep the loan, but they don't. So they have to pay back that 400 and also $10.96 of interest. Ta-da, there we go. So reviewing the steps, the formula is always the same for simple interest. Write out all four variables, because the tricky thing is if they ask you to find the principal instead of the interest, or they give you a time in days instead of years, or something like that. Once you do the work in the middle with the green and orange and pink, then it's just a matter of plugging it in, and your calculator does that, and you get the interest, or whatever else you're solving for. Then, double check what the words are asking. Are they asking what is the interest, or are they asking what's the whole total amount to repay? Ta-da. Looks good. Okay, we are done.